Meeting is now streaming live on YouTube. Got it? Got it.
Got it.
I don't know why I can't.
Live from what is this? The Plutopia verse. My tongue is all tangled, and we're here in Plutopia Central. We're in the ballroom high atop the Plutopia Towers building, and we're coming to you live on YouTube. And the usual suspects are here. I'm Scoop Sweeney. There's Susie Sheeler right in the middle of the screen there, and John Lebkowski over there at the control panel.
Somebody's missing.
And not for long. I see.
Not for long. She's showing up.
Stand by, folks. We have another visitor.
A 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4.
Will the next contestant please sign in?
Squeamish Joy has arrived.
Howdy.
Gun, right under the gun.
Yeah.
There you go. Just barely. I think there's something climbing over your head.
Yeah.
Just a friend. Just a friend.
Give that girl a hand.
It's been like
Just
that.
the season.
Yes.
Oh, ho,
Yes.
Well, we are supposed to honor the end of summer here, for one thing. And I will tell you that Monday it's going to be really, really cold.
Oh, thank Christ.
Literally cannot wait.
Yeah.
Today
I mean,
it's been
overnight.
really, really wet.
Overnight it's going to switch.
I love to be outside when that happens, because you can sometimes you can just really feel it drop.
It's really awesome. I agree. When the wind comes in and it's just like,
did everyone get a lot of rain today?
Yeah,
3 inches where we were.
Yeah, same here.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It
rained.
Were you either one of y'all close to the tornadoes?
No,
I'm up in North Bastrop County, so come
Did
here.
the tornadoes ever show up?
I think they were
Down by Lockhart.
briefly sighted is how I took it. Briefly sighted.
It killed a shed.
That's horrible.
Bless the shed.
Yeah.
Death of a shed.
Oh, it really puts things into perspective, doesn't it?
It does.
I'm trying to.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, perspective and destruction. Man, oh man, that shooting, that was something else, and they still haven't found that guy in Maine. Does anybody have any updates on that? I have a friend who lives there, and they locked down the town. I know that, like, her boyfriend couldn't go to work, and his parents, from what she tells me, has just this massive plot of land that would take a long time to search, which I'm sure they're going to do. But he could be anywhere there. Or John, you said you read that the last time, what was it that he had a boat?
Yeah,
I don't think that was me.
Yeah, they found his car at a boat dock. There's a body of water, river or something there. And that's the last place they had evidence of him having been somewhere.
So
right
they
now,
think he got in a boat?
dead, is the count at this point.
He dumped his car. We know that. So, I mean, I don't know, but injured, 60 people? So far, the death count is up to 18.
18, right.
Yeah, it's just phenomenal what's going on.
Ambitious guy.
Yeah, I was mentioning earlier that the gun nuts are all rushing out to buy clippable magazines because they made a big deal on the news about, well, he had his magazines clipped. Well, he did it in Vietnam style where you just use duct tape, but they've started making them where they clip together, so you have an unlimited source of bullets. It's like, well, that's good. I'm glad there was a big positive impact of that shooting.
Oh my God.
Gave all the gun nuts a new product.
I'm assuming the next NRA convention is going to be held this month in Maine.
Did you see?
Well, that's where all their money's going to go.
I think I sent you that link today, Stephanie. Maybe I didn't, about them losing so much revenue that all their members are dropping.
I did not see that. No, but that's not really surprising, actually. I mean,
after LaPierre took over and or got kicked out basically from his position, they found a lot of wrongdoing in the finances. Like any good conservative group like that, there's usually some double dealing, some secret payoffs.
No,
no.
I know. I hate to disappoint you, but they're just not totally honest.
I have kind of I would like to, just in the sad spirit of this, just kind of recount a story that happened in my family. I'm not close with these people, and I don't want to step on their grief by saying that I am, but I am related to them. There's a man named Ron Powers who's written several books. He wrote Flags of Our Father, and won the Pulitzer for that. He also won he also wrote a great book called Nobody Cares About Crazy People, about his bipolar son who committed suicide, and that won a lot of awards as well. About 3 weeks ago, John, did you see a date? I can't remember. I feel like it was 3 weeks ago.
Not
His
sure.
wife, Honore, who was a dean at one of the schools where he was also an adjunct, I believe, and taught some writing classes, was shot and killed on a path. She was just walking on one of the paths in Vermont, that people go hiking on, and I guess somebody saw him, because they have a description of a young man with red hair. He had a black t-shirt, a green t-shirt, and a black backpack, and he was wearing shorts. And I'm like, how did nobody else see him? He's red hair.
That was October 5th, if you want to know the exact date.
Thank you. And so it's just, I mean, there was no reason, it was random, just like this guy. I think that our manifest destiny is come full circle. I think that this was what we started when we decided manifest destiny with the industrial revolution with the gun. Then I think that we were signing off on what's happening right now.
Well, I'm not quite sure what to say. I know that we have a Second Amendment that's supposed to guarantee every person a right to have a gun if they're in a well-ordered militia.
Yeah, that's the part they always leave out.
And I don't understand why these guys who appear to be non-members of any particular militia, why they have automatic weapons.
This particular mass shooter, I mean, he was actually a gun instructor, and I believe
Army Reserve.
He was in the reserve, so he had military training. So he actually was part of a well-trained militia, and he still, ended up. You just
never know who to trust.
Also,
the militias all that we've encountered lately, they don't seem either well-ordered or.
I would disagree.
I don't think their screws are all well tightened either.
But I think that the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, they kind of had it together. They executed a plan that worked. They breached the White House. I mean, the Capitol, and
very close to working better than we would have ever wanted. That's for sure.
The question is, who is the arbiter, I guess, of what is well regulated? Who gets to say that? Is it someone in the United States government who gets to say, okay, you guys in Michigan get to be your own? I mean, how does that happen? Does it have? I want a militia. What do I have to do? How do I do this?
Well, it's easy. You live in Texas, so all you have to do is hold up a sign starting a militia.
Well, but I'm wondering, how do I get the tax stamp that says I'm well regulated?
That's like the organic. You have to pay a lot of money for that little organic sticker. And sometimes farmers are organic and they don't have the sticker. So I don't know. Maybe it's like that.
These militia people are no big fans of taxing, so I don't think you'd have any luck with the tax stamp. That's
I don't think it's going to
big
be a tax
no-no.
stamp.
Thou shalt not tax me or take my gun away.
or take my gun away.
Offer them tea.
Yeah. It's always a good plan, actually, in any circumstance.
I think tea is a part of the regulation. Tea is ritualistic. You have to have tea time. It's discipline. Yeah. If you don't brew it properly, it's really not going to taste good. It's
well regulated. The leaves and go,
well regulated. No. Tea is well regulated.
The people who lived in Massachusetts did not think so back in the day.
They had a problem with the taxes.
This is so random, you guys, but it just hit me because I was thinking of all the tea in the harbor and the color it would be. The Greeks did not have a word for the color blue. Isn't that weird? Anytime they described the ocean, it was always wine colored.
What, they have blue wine?
Well, I mean, that's what it was, dark, right?
Well, I mean, realistically, color is just a mind perception, and we all think that we agree on color, but really we have no idea, honestly. It's
fascinating.
Well, I mean, who knows what color their wine was back then?
That's true too. I mean, that is true.
Yeah, well, I've had friends who were colorblind, and it was totally an alien thing to them. Of this, because we're talking to them about this color, and they're not seeing it, and it just really screwed up their way of interfacing with certain people. Because some people will say, "Well, it's in a blue car." It's like, well, I don't know what blue looks like. It's like, well.
As a professional graphic designer, I once worked with a professional executive who neglected to inform us he was colorblind until after 6 rounds of project, and finally we're just like,
oh my God,
what are you doing? And he literally mentions casually that he's colorblind, and we're like, we're not listening to you anymore.
Wow, you have to lead with something like that when you're talking.
Yeah, I think it's like burying the lead. Like, seriously.
Yeah, I had an IT manager who was dyslexic, and it took us a while to figure that out. we were able to get through some incredible write-ups of program proposals, because we found out he had no idea what he would look at.
So this is so interesting.
Whatever, go ahead and make it.
This conversation, because just last night I was randomly surfing and I came across The Unexplained, hosted by William Shatner. And while I did not watch every episode, the one episode I watched was on senses and how people have people who, for example, hear in color, or they see with sounds, or
synesthesia is what they call that.
Thank you. There was a name for it. There's where your senses get confused or blended in different ways, and it was fascinating. I was just completely fascinated by just how complex we are. I mean, I guess in that sense.
Yeah. I remember that movie Mask. Who doesn't? I'm sorry, not The Mask, but Cher.
Yes.
That Mask.
Yes. The good one, the one that was I thought it was really, really good. But he was trying, the kid with the mask was really good. He was trying to show Laura Dern's character, who was blind, what different colors were, right? So he put, I can't remember.
He gave her ice to describe blue, and cotton to describe white.
Right. And then what was green? I remember there was a green too. And that was, it was just so cool.
I think he gave her fresh grass.
It may have been.
I think it was fresh grass. But he was giving her these different elements and things and saying, this is what this color is.
Yeah.
And she would sense it and feel it and be like, I get it. Yeah, that's a beautiful scene.
Yeah, and you can describe a Republican by handing him a little turd.
So there's different types of synesthesia: sound to shape, sound to color. Some people have multiple things, but there's a whole list of people who have synesthesia, and it includes people like Olivia Rodrigo, Billy Joel. Duke Ellington had synesthesia, and so did Tesla.
A lot of musicians have synesthesia because they see the music.
Billie Eilish has synesthesia.
Yeah, they visually see the music, and so for them, what we're all hearing for them is literally like a masterpiece painting. It's just this visual.
Is David Byrne on that list? I know he's
but Beyonce is.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
Marilyn Monroe experienced taste as color.
Oh,
That's interesting.
wow.
Yeah.
I knew somebody who had that. I also knew there's a lot of sense. I've known people who couldn't see black and white.
Oh, wow.
Right. So they would have to have like all of, like, if you printed something on paper, you had to print it on yellow paper or like blue paper or something, because they
That's
couldn't
interesting.
literally the contrast of black and white, everything would, like, I think it goes blank, like they see nothing, like,
Wow, I
so
bet TV sucked for them in the 70s.
I'm gonna guess that they probably didn't really watch it that much.
My mom and her family were the first people on the block to have a color TV. And all that was you went down to the TV shop and you bought this screen that was like a film that you put
We did that one time. I know what you're talking about.
It colorized it.
It was kind of color.
So was it like holographic like or something? That seems weird.
No, it would just like, have you ever watched remember back when we would watch TV and some of the colors, like it would be in between, you were twisting the knob and some of the colors would be really bright and weird and that like that.
Oh God, I hadn't thought about that in a long time. There was a kind of a color saturation adjustment and then there was a tint adjustment. Mm-hmm. And I used to like to turn the picture green.
Yeah.
It was kind of one of my things back then. Well, we didn't get a color television set as early as some of the other people in our neighborhood. And I feel bad now for the way I was with my dad, because we just bugged the hell out of him. Get us a color TV set. But I went over to people's houses to watch shows in color. And back then, a lot of the stuff was still in black and white, and then they'd have a few things that were in color. And they'd have some kind of a big deal thing, like Peter Pan with Mary Martin would be broadcast in color. And, I'd kind of go over and kind of hang out outside my friend's house and kind of like look forlorn and hope that they would invite me in to watch the show. It was always pretty great to see. I mean, seeing color when you're accustomed to black and white is pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It really, we've come so far and so many things are so like new, and some of these kids never, like, okay, like in my mom's house, there's one of those little cutouts for the telephone, and those were always so cool to me when I was little, because why? And then now that we get older, they're still there, but I saw like a phone jack, and like we were talking, you still have a landline, Scoop, but I was like, I bet kids today would be like, what's that for? What's going on with that? Just have no idea.
Yeah, the people that built my house, had it all wired up with everything, including phone jack. Mine are all wireless, but still, the whole idea of the old dial phone was interesting. I still have a couple in my box of dead technology out in the garage somewhere. And I'll pull out occasionally and just take a picture of it, just to give people, this is what my new iPhone is like. It's very retro.
You should have a show with all your stuff. You should have people come out and look at your stuff and charge them money.
Well, here's an interesting thing. I was watching a movie called No One Will Save You with Caitlin Dever. Are you aware of that film?
Is it good? I've seen it, but I haven't seen it. Like
it was much better than I thought it was going to be.
Okay. Okay. That's a worthy recommend. I'll take
I don't know. I just kind of felt like watching something a little spooky because Halloween, of course, is coming.
I've been doing spooky movies every day, but I have a very specific standard. So.
But there's a scene in there where she grabs a phone and starts dialing it. And it's like,
oh my God, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Did they make this movie 30 years ago?
It doesn't appear to be set that far in the past. I mean,
one of my favorite scenes.
That's crazy.
I didn't watch like the second season and all that stuff, but the Stranger Things show. One of the best scenes was where Winona Ryder like takes the phone and she walks over like she's gonna sit down in this chair, and the phone jerks her back, and she really It's so.
I've done that many times, just to like forget what I'm doing and take off with the phone in my hand.
I forgot about how that happened.
Well, now today everybody has a thing that they call a phone in their pocket. It's really a computer. I guess device might be more reasonable. But when I was a kid, you couldn't just get a phone anywhere. You had to get it from the phone company.
Yeah, there was only
one. My dad had worked for the phone company and kind of knew how all that stuff worked. So he actually had installed an extra phone in our house. It rang with the same number, but it was off like in their bedroom or something. And I recall very, very clearly the phone repairman was at our house one day doing a repair. And I think I opened the door, or somehow I made it clear that there was another phone back there. And they took that damn phone away. They wouldn't let us keep it.
Oh my God.
You had to pay extra for, and it was only their phone. They didn't allow you to have any, cheap, do-it-yourself phones like they later had.
Third party.
Yeah. Jeez. Has everyone seen the movie War Games?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
On that scene where Matthew Broderick goes into a phone booth and he didn't have enough money, so he gets a beer pop top, a metal thing, and use it to ground between the mouthpiece and the phone, and you get a dial tone. And that was a real thing when I was in college in North Texas, because our apartment project had one payphone. Nobody, we're all poor students, so we couldn't afford to have our own phone. So everybody was doing that. And there was a string with a pop top thing hanging on the phone. So everyone would go in there, short it out, and you could make you a call using just that little pop top thing. You would at least get an operator without having to put money in. You could
back in the old school calls. Back in the old school phone days, I don't know if y'all remember KNAC, the coolest radio station to ever land in Austin for like a year. Okay, no, I'm teasing.
7.7.
But KNAC, they when they were new and fresh, they had this contest that they would do where you would take your phone and you'd hold it up to your stereo speaker, and they would give you a question and they'd dial the number, and then whoever got through first would ask whoever answered that question, but that dial would come through your stereo speaker into your phone and it would dial on your phone. And so we won tickets to Lollapalooza because we called the Duck Shop. We didn't know we were calling the Duck Shop, but we had to ask them if they kept hitting their head on their fans. That was the question. Like, hey, do you keep hitting your head on your fans? And they were like, what?
What is going on?
Mentioning the stereo speaker made me think of a memory that I have. This is kind of an amazing memory. The television station and the radio station partnered in where Scoop and I grew up, Big Spring, Texas. There was this new thing called stereophonic sound. Oh, cool. And they demonstrated, and the deal was that you put the radio off to the side of your television set, and the radio was going to play one of the channels and the television set was going to play the other one. Do you remember this, Scoop?
I think that was after I had already departed, but I
don't know. This was KWAB. Yeah, and it was Ben Hall and the Circle 4 Ramblers.
Oh, that was from KGM then. Bob Bradbury's. That was my first radio. I was a radio virgin until I got onto KHM, and my mother told me to go to this guy and talk to him, and he had a radio training course that he gave to local guys and girls, and I took it. And they, as your graduation, you got an hour on the radio on KGM. The KGM stood for Keeping Hicks Entertained Musically. And it was all country. I came on right after Uncle Al's Corral. And,
oh God!
Oh wow!
Hey, this was in the basement of the Settles Hotel, which is now a real fancy hotel. But it was a
wow!
It was a it was a basement.
The Settles Hotel is actually a pretty great hotel, but
it is now. It wasn't then.
It was interesting back then. When I made an announcement for our show tonight, I said it was about like summer's over, right?
Yeah.
And I was realizing that it used to be when we were younger, and I'm sure you guys remember this too, that you knew that summer was over because the weather changed.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But as we can see, the weather hadn't changed all that much. I mean, well, it's not like a blast furnace, but it's still been pretty hot, right? So the way that we know that summer's over is because Halloween is almost here.
And it's going to be Halloween.
Right on. There she is.
There have been some seriously hot Halloweens. I am not.
There have been.
Oh my God.
I have costumes for every single one of them. And I've almost died.
In 5 years old, we had a Halloween party at my house, and it was overwhelmingly hot. There was not enough apple bobbing to keep anyone cool. It was so hot.
Yeah, but to be fair, even when we've had hot Halloween seasons, usually there's been at least a handful of days of cold weather leading up to it, and then we get a hot snap.
That's true.
We've sort of missed out on that a little bit. We really haven't gotten that sort of relief that we usually get. Although this is certainly a relief from 115, so I'm not complaining.
What's really disconcerting is the weather is pretty much the same, except it's shifted. What we used to expect in spring is now been shifted down, or it's just strange. But and it's climate change is made our weather very unpredictable and
volatile.
I've noticed that the weather forecasts are pretty much garbage. I mean,
they don't know anymore. They're super confused.
Sort of know, but they haven't been able to change their expectations of the stuff they get from the satellites and from
Well, I mean, the jet stream has basically changed, and then also Tornado Alley has moved, and so like all these things that we've been sort of conditioned to expect. They're just different. They're just happening in different places and more intense and at different times. And it's very unpredictable.
Yeah. When I moved here, from the Bay Area, and people here said, "Oh, we never get any tornadoes down here." And, that was 2006. Now we do get tornadoes down here.
I don't know who told you we didn't get tornadoes before 2000. But
he's talking about it in California.
In California. I'm sorry. I was like, no, we've always gotten tornadoes.
They said it wasn't as prevalent because I grew up in West Texas and we always had tornadoes.
Yeah.
And
I don't know. The interesting thing about that is that they would kind of jump over our little town, and it was because of that. I think it was because of those hills around there, what we laughingly called Scenic Mountain. I actually experienced a tornado one time. A thing like a hadoop or duster came blowing in from the west, and it was coming from behind this thing we called Scenic Mountain. You would call it a hill, but it's Scenic Mountain. And it was like this big wall of dust, and everything got super dark. And I was standing outside, and I heard this roar, and it was like it went over my head. It was like there was an air base there, and they had a lot of jets, but I didn't think it was the jets. And it wasn't. I found out people who were in other parts of town looking in our direction could see that there was a tornado there. I didn't really see it. It was kind of right over my head.
Well, we went to the same elementary school, John, Park Hill Elementary, which is below Scenic Mountain in quotes there. And I'm sure you were in class at that time. I was in probably sixth grade. And there was a tornado warning. And so the teacher was telling us to, we might have to get down under the desk or down, and shelter. And before we could even do anything, the sky went black. And according to one of the teachers, there was a tornado right overhead that kind of hopped over Scenic Mountain and just missed the school. So I'm sure you were in the middle of that as well.
I'm glad we had that mountain there.
Yes.
We had some tornadoes in Georgetown. I remember one in particular. I believe I was probably 13, Stephanie, 12 or 13, Georgetown, and it ripped the roof off the Piggly Wiggly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would have been around 82 or so.
Yeah, so yeah, and that was we lived right
there. Yeah.
Behind the Piggly Wiggly.
You lived right there.
My mom was like, we woke up and the window in the dining room had been shattered and there was a tree kind of through it. And so she just pulled the curtain around it and we went back to bed.
Well, there's not much you can do about it right then.
But what we used to do is we wouldn't get under our desks. We went into the hallways.
Yeah.
And assumed.
Yeah, for tornadoes, definitely.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was lucky enough to experience a tornado in my car.
Oh, how fun.
Right outside of Conroe. And yeah, it was exciting. It was very exciting.
Scary.
It was terrifying. It moved my car. It moved my car sideways across the highway.
Wow. That's terrifying.
That's the Settles Hotel I was talking about in the basement. Yeah. And that was my first real barber shop. My mom did my hair until I got to a certain age there. And so I ended up in the Settles Hotel barber shop. It was an old school barber shop, old guys and mirrors everywhere. And it was interesting. I was totally lost. I didn't want to get a haircut to begin with. Poncho's News.
Right across the street from the Settles Hotel. So Hotel Settles is there on the right, and Poncho's News there on the left. Though of course, there's nothing there anymore. But this guy, Poncho, who used to ride with Pancho Villa, that's how he got the nickname Poncho. Kind of a crusty old guy. He had this newsstand, and he had everything there. I mean, you could go in there, you could buy Punch, the British humor magazine. Yeah. Any magazine you could imagine was there. And it was like, we became small town, big city people.
Yeah, he had provided young guys such as myself with softcore porn. It's the first place that, it was nothing really super tacky, but it was, fairly sleazy porn for young men. And everyone I knew would go in there in disguise, or late at night and get their porn.
God. Oh my God. Oh God, that's so gross.
Wash that one out of your brain.
Thank you. I mean, I'm just thinking of young men. Did you guys see Bridesmaids? I'm sorry, but I just have to, because of this particular conversation.
Yes.
One scene where she said, she's like, I have 4 boys and a husband. There is semen all over my house.
you don't want to shine a black light around that house, whatever
she said,
do.
Yesterday, I broke a blanket.
I broke a blanket.
Eek.
That's horrible. Oh my gosh. You have me focusing right now on the purple light on my ear. I'm
it's
just like trying to go to a safe place, and I'm like, there's a purple light on my ear.
Oh, look at that pretty light on my ear. Well, hey, we have a new speaker, you guys. He looks like the guy from Lorenz and Lorenz.
I hear he's a really nice guy.
Yeah,
very, very amiable. A very nice Christo-fascist.
Well, for an architect of the insurrection, we could have done worse, I suppose.
Oh yeah. Well, here's something. If I was talking about sleaze. It says here, and I'm reading that Donald Trump back in what was the date? It doesn't say, but Trump asked Melania to put on a bikini and parade for his big bucks friends who were there at Mar-a-Lago. It's like, what a fine guy he is.
Did you hear what she said to him?
I haven't gotten to that part, but
she said, you do it first.
Ooh, God forbid.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least, it kind of makes me feel a little better that she has that, at least that she could say something like that,
Yeah, she's been pretty much missing in action, and
literally
by choice. If she's being smart enough to distance herself from the whole thing.
We've taken the Elon out of Melania, and she's not just MIA. Oh, thank you for that.
Good one.
God. I was talking to a friend of mine. I like him very much. I think he would be a good political candidate for his community. However, he is he works for Tesla. He has a really good job there. He's moving up quickly. He's smart, but he now absolutely idolizes Elon Musk. He hates everything that whole faction of people stands for, but for some reason he is able to give this guy a pass, and I don't get it. I mean, is that going to be what happens? Is that he's going to be so positive a force in certain people's lives with jobs, even someone, because he's not like, he doesn't have a degree or anything. They're just moving him up the track, really fast. He's making more money than he ever has. He's got insurance. There's a chance they may move him onto the plantation or whatever they're calling it.
Plantation, huh?
But I mean, so then, like, I don't know.
Beautiful.
Perfect.
That's the mask on the cover of the Austin Chronicle.
I was curious. Thank you for bringing that up, because I hadn't seen it this year.
Yeah, the headline I saw this morning was Elon wants to do to Instagram what he did to Wikipedia, so have another X on the Elon list of things he's killed.
Wikipedia or Twitter?
You mean Twitter?
Yeah, what he did to Twitter, he wants to do to Instagram.
Yeah,
but Facebook owns Instagram.
Not well for now. You know how he does. These guys are constantly buying each other out, so I'm sure he'll have some evil plan. But that's what he was claiming. He wants to take over all the people that publish stuff about him.
Because they invested so much in meta business and integrating Instagram and Facebook together. It just seems like that would be
that would have to be
really,
a very large number.
Like, strategically, I don't
well, the dirty secret is none of these guys are profiting like they would hope you to believe, because they are spending so much money to just keep ahead of each other. The whole tech bro wars are basically
huge.
They don't care if they make a profit. They just have to look like they're a multi-billionaire on paper. But
they're measuring their floppy disks against each other. Oh, call back floppy disks.
I mean, it may be a pipe dream, but I really am still holding out for the cage match. I thought that was the best idea.
I would.
Zuckerberg is like, let's do it.
I'll do the paper.
Zuckerberg is pretty buff, man.
Yes,
I think that's what
he's been working out.
Elon, that cage match can't happen until Elon gets into some hefty training. I mean.
Keeps saying let's go, and Zuckerberg's like, okay, and he's like, oh, maybe next week. No, I wanted to do it at the Coliseum, but they won't let us do it at the Coliseum.
Yeah, people were describing Elon as being kind of a puffy little
it reminds me of, I don't know, this is like an old
out of shape guy.
Jon Favreau on Friends, when he decided to become the mouse W, and then he ends up in a full body cast.
Yes,
it's like Jon Favreau is not going to be the MMA guy, okay? And so it's like, that's who I think Elon reminds me of.
That picture of him, I forget what magazine it's on, but his cheeks are all sculpted, when he's doing one of these. And it's
you
like,
you mean AI Eon?
Yes, he looks so fake. I mean, that if you look at his original his original self 30 years ago. Oh, and the other thing that I love is that he tells everyone that he's the founder of Tesla. He didn't found Tesla. There were two other guys who founded Tesla. He just came in at the last minute.
Can I just again register my protest at the use of another human being's name who you had no related connection to whatsoever of your company. So I deeply have great reverence for Nikola Tesla. And I just like have such low tolerance for that name being utilized as a brand. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I'm going to start a company called Bowie right now. Okay.
Well, there's a Bowie
knives.
knife.
Damn it. I gotta think of another one.
So whatever happened to Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpening?
The ones who created it.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing. As Sammy Allred used to say, nothing. Nothing happened to him.
Nothing good. No.
I heard that Tesla is not doing very well right now.
Yeah, well, Cybertruck sucks. That's been the opinion of a lot of people. They showed
Cybertruck is ugly. I mean,
auto show.
I believe in form and function, and I've heard bad things about the function, but the form was right out of the gate, like
it's styled for macho dipshits. That's its target audience.
I mean, honestly, though, I've seen other vehicles styled for macho dipshits that were cooler than that, so I'm still going to call it super ugly. Okay.
I worked for a guy who bought one of the very first ones, and he is, I don't know, maybe he's changed, but I doubt it. He is this little bitty guy who made a lot of money, went to Wharton, made a shit ton of money by doing something in his garage like everyone else. And he bought one of the very first Teslas that were rolled out. Apparently he's like 1%, this guy. And so he knows these guys personally. There are pictures of him. And
is that Josh Baer?
Yes, it is.
Oh, really? Yeah, yes. Josh Baer is a friend of mine.
I know. Remember when I worked for him and I got a reference from you?
Oh, yeah. I haven't thought about that in years.
All the dots are suddenly connecting.
Yeah, I remember him getting that Tesla.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw him. Like I was working at ACL at Moody. I was doing the ushering or whatever, and he has a box there. And his dad was there, and I'd met his dad, and we were talking. And then I was waiting for the bus to go home, and I heard, "Hey."
Oh no, Susie froze, or maybe it's me.
It happens. Screens freeze.
The rabbit took over her.
I think so. The rabbit got her.
It happened to me earlier tonight. And I don't think you guys even noticed it, but everything froze for me for a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then when I came back, you guys were just rattling along,
we didn't have internet at all today, so I was really surprised that we actually got it back in time for the show.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed.
Oh, we lost her.
Yeah, hopefully she'll pop back on.
Well, it's still she's.
Oh, wait, she's there. She's just gone dark.
Oh, and then she went away. She's going to recycle, I guess.
Yeah.
But speculum cable, that's what my wife refers to them as, has been having a lot of outages. And, they've supposedly been doing all sorts of work out in my part of Bastrop County, and hadn't done dip for their quality, because in the evening hours, for no reason, usually midday is when the big traffic is. In the middle of the evening, it starts going out, and you get a freeze, and there's no reason for that, because there's not any. You can't blame the heavy traffic, because people are not working at that time. Most people,
right? This is really bad. Susie lost power. It's just
irritating.
So
she lost power. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Our power went out in our house?
Yeah, that's what the text says.
Oh, Austin Energy strikes again.
Yay.
Well, we had a power outage here the other night that lasted for like 4 hours, but it was in the middle of the night. And it was preceded by rain, or actually the rain hit right about the time the power went out. And I assumed maybe there was a down power line somewhere. Maybe the winds got it.
Yeah, well, I think we might have lost her.
Well, if her power comes back, she'll come back. Meanwhile, we have 16 more minutes.
Well, meanwhile, here's what we can start planning for our Christmas party.
Yes.
Oh.
Join the war on. Aw. Oh, look at that.
I'll say Merry Christmas when I'm dead. You can pull that mistletoe from my cold, dead fingers.
Wow, that's a really violent image. The tree's on fire. Santa's got the target right on his third eye.
Bill O'Reilly have something to do with that?
Of course.
Oh my God.
Is that gonna be is that the design for the new Starbucks cup?
That may well be. Either that or it'll just have a full Beelzebub motif all around.
Well, so the source of the war on Christmas was what? Was it the fact that people started saying happy holidays because there were other holidays? Was it maybe a little bit anti-Semitic in that one of the reasons people started saying happy holidays is because there were Jewish holidays that weren't Christmas around, Hanukkah?
I've actually seen people that have said
there's like 118 holidays right around that time period, and so
yeah,
I've seen people get shouted down for saying Happy Hanukkah because it's like they said it in the wrong crowd, I guess. Because like, come on, people, it's their holiday too.
Yeah, it's it's like I say what I want to say whenever I want to say it. So I usually say something like Merry Christmas solstice. Okay, so anyway, I just like blend it. But it's like I generally just respond to people in whatever they say to me. And so if somebody says Merry Christmas, my response is Merry Christmas. If somebody says Happy Holidays, my response is Happy Holidays. It's kind of like pronouns, but that screws them up too. So I guess it's just sort of like
it doesn't cost you anything to be polite. I mean,
it
come
doesn't
on.
cost anything to be polite. Like it's just a simple kindness.
We had a great podcast recently about apologies and how to say apologies and what not to say, and it really made me think about my dealings with people, and it's made me a lot less confrontational. Not that I'm a nasty guy or anything, but just thinking about it doesn't cost you anything. Just be nice. If you mess up, apologize for it. Trump never will.
No, it's not that hard to own, or it shouldn't be at least that hard to own your behavior, but people are really challenged by it. And the trigger is, if it was Happy Holidays, it seems like every year there's a different trigger around the Christmas thing, and I never get it because I just simply don't. I just don't get it. I just don't get like looking for reasons to be angry around something intended for joy. It just doesn't make any sense to me at all. So
well,
I'm showing this thing as a plug for our friends that we interviewed,
that's cool.
Susan McCarthy and Marjorie Engel. They have a website called Sorry Watch, where they, basically they sort of analyze really bad apologies, which are not hard to find day after day.
Yeah, they pointed out some really weird ones too. It's like
some
people do not think it through when they're going to try and apologize for something horrible that they did to someone, and they don't do a real apology. It's like they instead try to justify what they did in a nice sort of way. It's like that doesn't work.
I mean, it's kind of along the lines of I'm sorry you felt that way, and it's sort of like.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really, are you?
It's like Susie isn't getting her power back. You should text her and have her call in on your phone. You can put it on speakerphone and get her back out, or call on one of our phones there.
Oh, I guess I'd have to tell her what number to call.
Yeah, she would need to. She could. Yeah, maybe you can text her the dial-in. She may be able to do it through her phone.
Okay. Well, you guys keep talking, and I'll look for that.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about Zoom. And it's like the old technology we had on the radio. We'd have the call-in shows, and nice. And they don't have the time delay, so you can sneak in some dirty language on a Zoom call, and there's no way to stop it, which is nice. I think there's some apps that people have come up with to allow you to do that, just in case you don't want to offend any delicate CEOs or anything like that. We wouldn't want to, let them hear any naughty language.
Yeah, I don't think I'm mindful of the delicate. I think
Delicate CEOs. They're so delicate. They're just little snowflakes.
It's the season I could read y'all see is for Kevin. Isn't this the cutest little book?
Oh, that's nice.
I know.
Who did that?
It's done by Andrea Stein. And I feel like I got this locally, but I don't know if it's like everywhere. I got it but it's really cute. It's just like it's a little kid's book.
Oh, great.
G is for goddess, and like all the J is for journal.
Very good.
It's perfect for the season. I have a whole shelf of Halloween books. So
yeah, I had some Wiccan friends in the Bay Area, and they were really sharp on pointing out, misunderstandings of the things that they do. He's like, I'm not a witch, I'm a Wiccan, and I'm not.
See, this is true, because I am not a Wiccan, but I am a witch. Very distinct. It's very distinct.
Witch.
What is the distinction?
Well, Wiccan is a spiritual practice, and it has very distinct ritual and belief systems, and you usually work with deities. I'm a humanist or earth-based pagan, and I also call myself a witch. But my spirituality isn't necessarily tied to the Wiccan practice, and I don't work with deities. I work with nature and energy. So it's just, I think there's a lot of self-defined witches, and I think that comes really through, I think, partially the feminist movement, but really like a space of like just true empowerment for women to just really reclaim a lot of their natural powers that have been sort of diminished or disregarded for so long.
So why do you suppose it is that the traditional view of witch has been as some evil character,
to diminish the power of the crone, to diminish the power of the wisdom of the healing woman? I mean, if you just go back centuries and you just look at the rise of Christianity and the patriarchy, well, it took over something, and what it took over was paganism, and paganism ultimately didn't put a distinction of hierarchy between the god and the goddess. Paganism said there's equal power here, and it should be wielded, it should be wielded with grace, basically. It's not, and the patriarchy just basically diminished the woman, and so you had to turn the most powerful aspect of the female being, which is the wise crone healer who has lived her entire life experience developing all this wisdom. You have to demonize that person. Otherwise, how are you going to make your Pope be the king witch? I mean, like, ultimately, all they did was take over a whole bunch of pagan practices, modify them into their own religious practice, and then flip it to a patriarchy instead of, it wasn't even a matriarchy, really. It was really a much more balanced society.
I wonder why the patriarchy is so apparently connected with Christianity. I mean,
well, that was one of their big things, is our Father.
It's
God in
not,
heaven.
It's connected. I mean, the patriarchy is just as equally connected to the Muslim religion or connected to the Jewish. I mean, they are all patriarchal religions, every single one of them, and they all elevate the masculine and diminish the feminine. I mean, in all of those societies and religious beliefs, that's core and central to the belief. It's not just, if you think about like the replacements, like Father, Son, and Ghost, like the woman got replaced with a ghost. I mean, like, we're, like dad, baby, and then a ghost. I mean,
well, we should do a show on Wiccans and witches, and a lot of that reminds me of my experience through my grandmother's family. They were all Choctaw, and they were Baptist on the surface, but they still maintain all the true values of the Choctaw spiritual nature. And a lot of it was not a male female. It was an earth thing that the earth was the source. That's why they were in a real agrarian society, because they knew the earth was the source of all life, and they would honor that. And I learned so much from just hanging out with my grandma, who was educated in the Indian girls' school in Indian Territory. And she talked about how it was the Catholic Church that came in and told them, you have to go to this school and you cannot speak Choctaw. So her and her girlfriends would all sneak off and hide so they could speak Choctaw. And it was the religious influence that would, actually subjugate, any kind of.
It's all about control. I mean, it really is. And at the end of the day, like if you just look at it, the core central fact, is that women have the power to bear life. Period. It is a big power, and that is a frightening thing. And if we go back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, when people understood even less, I mean, all of these things have been developed for centuries, and we just keep getting conditioned and reconditioned by them. And we're seeing that conditioning unravel. We really are seeing it unravel. The more desperate we see these groups get that are so fringe and so angry, it's a sign to me that they're really breaking down, because desperation is usually what happens when you're falling apart, not when everything is like,
Well, the good thing about media is it is unveiled a lot of, it's removed the veil over a lot of these practices. You get to see backstage of what's really going on in these various, not very nice things that are going on in our culture, and people are starting to get hip to that fact. Like, these aren't the good people. These are some people who they only want money and they want power, and they'll do whatever it takes to retain that.
They'll even use your own spiritual beliefs against you, and that's I feel for a lot of people, regardless of whether or not I agree or disagree with a person's spiritual belief system, I know that it's very deeply personal and valuable to their being. And so I think that it is like an atrocity to use that against a group of people in any way, shape, or form. Even the MAGAs, the way that their Christianity gets used against them and gets used to pull them in directions that are just, it's like somebody made the comment not too long ago, like, the Sermon on the Mount, I think it was the head of the Baptist convention resigned, and basically said he resigned because the sermon, and you don't totally quote me, but I'm pretty close on this in terms of who it was, but nobody believed in the Sermon on the Mount, and he couldn't preach it anymore because they said it was too weak. Like the language is too weak. And so that's the Baptist convention, and that tells you where they're at.
They are not Christians. They don't. Christians.
They were taken over by the Republican Party back in the 1970s. My mother was a devout Baptist, even though she was Choctaw.
I was raised Southern Baptist.
She used to teach. She used to teach in Sunday school that song, "Jesus loved the little children, all the children, red and yellow, black and white." And they told her she was teaching a communist organizing song. And
that's not true. I was raised Southern Baptist, and I went to church 3 days a week religiously. I did vacation Bible school. And what, I remember that we were conservative. And when I was about 13 or 14, I switched over to become a Lutheran, and I got fully confirmed at that point. And then later on, I became a Satanist and realized that still made me a Christian. So then I was an atheist, and then I became this. But when I was a Southern Baptist, they did not teach us these. They didn't teach us. For example, we were taught the Bible was parable. We weren't taught literous, like that the stories were literal. Like that all came in through the mid to the late 80s is when that started really shifting hard in that community. And then it became super evangelical, and then it just went over the hill. But when I was young, church was just church. Like it was, I don't remember all of that sort of bigotry, and also that sort of like weird magical thinking of reality that isn't real. Like
when I was young, I was gone. I went to the same thing as you did. Baptist, vacation Bible school, all that stuff, and it was pretty run of the mill stuff. There was not a lot of drama from the conservatives. It was conservative, but it got very dramatic when suddenly the Southern Baptist Convention was infiltrated by the hardcore evangelical people who took it in a whole different direction. That's when a lot of people I grew up with just went away and went some other direction.
I found an article that talks about Russell Moore is the name of the guy who resigned, and he was talking about how he would talk about the Sermon on the Mount, and somebody would walk up to him and say, "Where did you get those liberal talking points?"
Literally.
Well, yeah, Jesus.
And he said, "I'm literally quoting Jesus Christ." And then the response would be, "I apologize." Well, that's not too bad.
Well, they're too used to the blonde, white-haired, blue-eyed Jesus. That's a different.
Oh, yeah, but that's not what they didn't say. I apologize. What they said was their response was, "Yes, but that doesn't work anymore. That's weak."
It doesn't work. That's right. Yeah. It's too weak.
Weak. It's
doesn't work anymore.
Okay. Well, folks, we're going to have to do a little.
Oh, yeah. We have reached the end of the internet. All right. I will see you next time.
Later.
Off we go. Bye-bye.